come here today to Worlebury Camp, Iron Age Hillfort, and I'm stood here on the eastern ramparts, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, Worlebury Hillfort, if you don't know, is situated on the edge of Weston-super-Mare on Worle Hill, and it sits at the westernmost end of Worle Hill, looking out over the Bristol Channel to the west and over Sand Bay and Western Bay to the south. Worlebury Camp is a multivallate hill fort, and that means that it has a defensive system of multiple banks and ditches, as you can see behind me. There are around 50 multivallate hill forts in England, and that's out of a total of sort of 2,000 or 3,000 hill forts across the UK as a whole, and it's a very small proportion, so it means that it's actually very rare. Now, the hill fort itself covers an area of around 10 hectares, and that is equivalent to about 18.5 football pitches in size. The hill fort was designated as a scheduled monument in 1950. The reasons for its designation are its unusual location, and it offered a 360-degree view of the landscape surrounding it. And it's also the archaeological and environmental evidence that was recovered during excavations here in the 19th century that allow us to understand Iron Age society and how people lived here over 2,000 years ago. So I'm standing here in the middle of the eastern ramparts, and this area is what gives Worlebury Camp Hillfort its multivallate status. There are a system of 7 banks and ditches. From the smallest to the largest of the ramparts, you're looking at about 100 metres east to west, which shows that it was a very significant form of defence. The largest of the banks behind me, you can see today looks like tumbled stone, but in the Iron Age there would have been stone walls 15 to 20 feet high, really quite imposing if you were trying to attack this hill fort. So the hill fort was first excavated in the early 1850s, and this was in response to the construction of houses being built along South Road, which meant that the southern ramparts were being destroyed. Now, the Reverend Francis Waugh and his companions decided to excavate the hill fort, and in doing so, they revealed that there were 93 stone-cut pits, some of them stone-lined, and these would have been used to store grain and food in the Iron Age for the people that lived here. Other artefacts that were recovered during the excavations here included pottery, jewellery, spindle wheels for weaving, weapons and tools. These artefacts provide us with a real snapshot of Iron Age life here over 2,000 years ago. Now, it's possible that there may have been an earlier settlement here in the Neolithic or Bronze Age, and we know that from the prehistoric flints that we find. Also excavated from the pits were the remains of 18 individuals. Some of these skulls are on display in Weston Museum, along with other artefacts. These skulls show clear signs that these individuals came to an untimely end. Now, the hill fort was subject to further excavations in the 1880s by Charles W. Diamond and Henry Tompkins. They re-excavated some of these pits, but unfortunately found nothing significant. Charles Diamond undertook a survey of the whole hill fort, and he drew his plan, which became the first detailed study of a hill fort in England. Unfortunately, no further excavations have been undertaken on the site, but the artefacts recovered from those 19th century excavations allow us a chance to use modern techniques and analyses to understand the life on the hill fort 2,000 years ago. Charred grain from the pits, pottery, wood can all be subject to modern archaeological techniques. The landscape you see today is very different to what you would have seen here in the Iron Age 2,000 years ago. The trees were planted here in the 1820s by the Lord of the Manor, John Hugh Smith Piggott, when he decided he wanted a game reserve for his estate. Worlebury Hill would have looked very much like Sandpoint or Brean Down in the Iron Age, and for many hundreds of years after. Unfortunately, the trees are causing significant damage to the archaeology of the hill fort. And this is the main reason that the hill fort has been placed on Historic England's Heritage at Risk register. As part of the Worlebury Hillfort project, it's hoped that we'll be able to reanalyse and reinvestigate the remains uncovered from the excavations in the 19th century. And this will help us to understand more about the people who lived here in the Iron Age.